Good evening. I'd like to call the November 6, 2019 meeting of the Mount Vernon Board of Education to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Mitchell.
Here.
Trustee Patterson.
Present.
Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Williams. Trustee McOwen. Trustee Ning. Trustee Saunders.
Here.
Trustee White. Trustee Torres.
Present.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. This evening, we have rearranged the agenda slightly. We've moved the presentations to the top of the agenda in order to accommodate our speakers who have engagements immediately following this meeting. Dr. Hamilton, do you have any presentations this evening?
I do. First of all, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Tonight we have a special presentation by Concordia and its leadership team. The district and Concordia will be entering a partnership that will allow students as much as 60 college credits during their 4-year high school experience. This dual enrollment program creates a direct college pipeline that will ensure that our students enter college with nearly 2 years college credit without the college tuition costs. And additionally, we have an opportunity, again through a partnership with Concordia, that will allow 20 students from our STEAM Academy to enter into the nursing program. And this is supported through the Smart Scholars Grant and Title IV grants. The Title IV grant, by the way, is designed specifically to remove barriers for college entry for our students. This is an unprecedented partnership and an extraordinary opportunity for our students. So without further ado, I'd like to invite our guest from Concordia to the microphone for our presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Hamilton.
Thank you.
Thank you to the board for this invitation and this opportunity to present Concordia College to you. Before we begin, I would like to introduce my colleagues. I would like to introduce President John Nunes and First Lady Monique Nunes, Mrs. Monique Nunes from Concordia College, as well as Mr. Mazzoni, who was instrumental in initiating this partnership idea, and also Dr. Song Kim, who is the chairperson of our teacher education program and has really worked very closely with Dr. Conroy and others in Mount Vernon to get this started. So thank you very much. Concordia College, we're right down the road. We already have a partnership with you. We have a partnership with Holmes Elementary School, and we've had that partnership for about 3 years now. Our teacher candidates spend time in the classrooms here. We've also had a long history of other internships and student teaching. So this is like the next step for us, and we're very pleased to be able to present Concordia to you. Next slide. So we're here to talk about the dual enrollment program. We are looking at the possibilities of having students achieve an associate's degree from 9th grade through 12th grade to possibly take up to 60 credits and actually leave with an associate's degree. So we would love to keep them at Concordia. It would be a great transition point, but if not, we are preparing students for further higher education. So that is our goal. That's the goal of the partnership. Okay, I need technical assistance. This one? Here we go. Oh, sorry. So who are we? We are a college that prides itself on serving diverse student populations. We have a very large population of students who are first-generation college students. We retain them. We are known by U.S. News and World Report as a best money, as a top college for social mobility. And Money Magazine, we're also a great college for students in terms of providing financial assistance to them. We believe in career-focused programs with a strong foundation in the liberal arts. And so the program that we will present, that we would implement with Mount Vernon School District, would be rich in the liberal arts and sciences. All careers rely on strong foundation in the liberal arts core, and that is something that we will be implementing in this program. We are truly a school where worlds meet. If you were at graduation, our graduation in May, we had 31 countries represented at graduation. Would like to turn this over now to the students of Concordia College in a short video clip that really talks about who we are as a community.
Concordia College is where I feel included. As an adult learner, as somebody who's returning to college after almost 20 years, it was intimidating for me to think about being in a classroom setting again, but I did feel included.
Concordia College is where I first knew I would be creating my own story. I came to this campus and I saw it included more than people that looked like me, much like the world does. Students who
Well, what happened with the video? What happened?
They want me to talk only. Okay.
Concordia College is where I feel included. As an adult learner, as somebody who's returning to college after almost 20 years, it was intimidating for me to think about being in a classroom setting again, but I did feel included.
Concordia College is where I first knew I would be creating my own story. I came to this campus and I saw it included more than people that looked like me, much like the world does. Students who can look at a subject from every angle.
Concordia College is where I feel I received an opportunity. To be a good teacher, you need to be prepared, and I'm ahead of the game.
I love learning about the world, the countries, the capitals, the oceans, the landmarks. I've met some people from Spain, Brazil. They're my friends.
Concordia College is where I learn I'm different, but I still fit in. It's like a puzzle. I still fit into the puzzle.
Belonging means being comfortable in your environment, being comfortable to express yourself. Concordia College is where I feel welcomed. The veterans community has been able to make me feel more at home. Passion, purpose, and service is so important to me. When I came to campus and I saw that everywhere, it spoke to me of why I'm here. I'm here to serve. That's what my responsibility is.
Here I learned to view things in a different way than I used to back in Miami. I've met people from Sweden, from France, Brazil, Germany, and these people have taught me different ways of thinking and changed me for the better.
No matter where you are from, I almost feel like it's a family away from a family. The faculty, the staff, they continue to amaze us students and make us feel as if we're wanted here.
They know my name. You're more than a number. You're respected and you're cared about here.
If it wasn't for a lot of my professors and advisors, I don't know what would have happened. It makes me feel like everybody fits in.
I became independent, living in my own dorm room. I know everything now about college.
Taking psychology here, it's a way for me to help others and speak up. I'm going to be an advocate for veterans.
Concordia is a college where worlds meet. I belong here.
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 Isn't it beautiful? It is truly us. I think the video shows us really well who we are. So the proposed, oh, yeah. So the proposed dual enrollment program is not something new. We've done it with other high schools. For example, we do have a Martin Luther High School in Queens, as well as the accelerated bridge program with the international students. They are all, though, matriculated with the Martin Luther High School. They are actually taking classes at Concordia currently and get their high school degree and get into the getting associate degree as well. And also the model that we will be probably using is Andalusia High School in Yonkers. That is the program currently high school students are taking college courses in their high school. Now, if we can go to the next slide, what we can offer to Mount Vernon high school students are actually, the goal is to have these students, selected students, graduate high school with associate degree. If worst case scenario, they might have to take a couple of courses through summer right after. However, the courses will be, we are trying to match the Mount Vernon courses with the Concordia College courses. And this high school course will not only teach the state standards content, also include college level content and objectives. So the course will gain both credit, high school level and associate level. So that is our goal. They will start at 9th grade. So and they will be taking approximately 60 credit hours by the time they graduate. We will still have to work out the details in terms of course matching. The students might need to take some summer courses, but we are really positive that we can make it happen. For us, it's truly from our mission to serve the community and motivate these students who have great minds to continue their college with support, otherwise they wouldn't get. And we are here really try to get as many students here from Mount Vernon get into college. Anything? So, and then also we do have a nursing program that associate degree might have some electives, right? The electives that they can use toward the nursing degree as well. So I was told that you are thinking about adding some more health program, health courses, and we suggested that maybe medical terminology, or anatomy and physiology, or health. What is that?
Health promotion.
Yes, health promotion courses could be a great course to add in preparation of nursing program.
With the way we looked at the program was that we have available within the 60 credits about 17 credits of electives. So if students were interested in our nursing program or our radiological technology program, or if they're interested in another medical health field, they would be able to take some core courses, some foundations courses with us in that area. Just to let you know, we're not bragging or anything, but we do have, for the last year, a 100% first-time pass rate on the NCLEX nursing certification exam, licensing exam, excuse me. So we're very proud of that. We've always had a great program. And we're looking to extend that program to this community as well. Okay. I think we're ready to take any questions.
Trustees, do you have any questions on the presentation? Comments? Questions?
I do want to mention that you do have in your packet the course matching, the course alignment. That is a draft, but we are truly working to partner with you. So when we confirm and put together a curriculum, that the matching will be done in collaboration with your guidance counselors and your faculty. We want to make sure that we are selecting the correct courses and and providing the most effective program for your students. Yes.
So, question. Where are
Mr. Silva, can you approach the podium if you're going to ask a question, please? Just so everyone can hear it. We want our listening public to hear it.
Thank you and good evening. So where will these classes be offered?
Mostly in Mount Vernon High School.
Mostly in Mount Vernon High School.
Dr. Squires, please speak into the podium and to the microphone. Sorry.
Thank you for the reminder. Mostly at Mount Vernon High School, although we did talk about the possibility, and I would love to see your students come to our campus, and we do have the possibility of assisting with transportation for that.
Dr. BC, I'm sorry, Dr. BC wanted to clarify something.
Yes, it's a STEAM high school. And Ms. Bradley's here in the audience, Ms. Bradley and Ms. Morales. Those are the folks that you'll be meeting with next week along with their guidance counselors and teachers to talk about how the courses match up. So it's STEAM, not Mount Vernon.
And so part two, and finally, who will be teaching it? Will it be our staff or your staff?
A combination, probably.
Okay.
Trustee Munoz, do you have a question?
I think more of a comment than a question. I would really like to see this open to Mount Vernon High School, as well as STEAM and PVAM, if that's what we're doing. And I know that that presents logistical issues, but I think that for students to have an opportunity to earn 60 credits, I think it really behooves us to ensure that we spread it around the whole district and ensure that whoever qualifies for it, whatever that means, they get. And I also think that bringing the students up to Concordia would be a fantastic idea because it's a beautiful campus and it gives you a whole nother, it just brings you to a whole nother world. And it's so close that it's almost shocking that, sorry, I'm a Concordia grad, I apologize, I'm kind of biased.
Well, I know we have the nursing program already at the high school, or something with nursing at the high school. Would they do this in conjunction with the high school nursing program?
Dr. BC, do you want to answer that, please?
Two different programs.
Two different programs?
The nursing program at Mount Vernon High School is done with Monroe College.
Okay.
This is going to be done with Concordia, and it's a different grant with a different meaning. It has to be in the STEAM school. Everything is centered around STEAM. So we can't take it from STEAM and put it someplace else because the grant was written for that, and also Title IV also points to using STEAM as a base for that. But I guess we could look at other grants, to help build up the other schools, that's for sure. But right now, we have to stick with STEAM. And I need to say that STEAM is a very new school. And because we, part of the ESSA, one of the criteria was the CCR, which is the college career and civic readiness. We have to make sure that all those schools are balanced. Mount Vernon has a lot of programs in their buildings that can take care of that. And we have to work on Thornton, but STEAM is a brand new school, and we have to make sure that we build that up.
So I know it can't start tomorrow. When do we anticipate?
Planning on starting January 1st. We have to work out all the details between now and December, and that is why Ms. Bradley and Ms. Morales is here. So after they're presented to you, we're going to work out the nuances because we have the funding. It's just that we have to work out what classes they're going to take, what classes matches, and make sure that the kids are ready to go. And I know they're excited. Am I correct, Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Yes. The kids are ready to go.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions or comments? No? I want to thank Dr. do you want to say
No,
something?
I was going to, just a closing comment, if I may, Madam President. I just wanted to say how grateful we are that this partnership is even on the radar for our students. We've really been looking to ramp up our college partnerships, and what better facility to do that within Concordia, which is indeed right up the street. So I want to thank you for even considering Mount Vernon as a part of this initiative.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I want to thank Dr. Squires, Dr. Kim, and Dr. Nunes, and First Lady Monique Nunes, and Jim Mazzoni for coming this evening and making the presentation as a Concordia employee. I, too, want to say that it's a wonderful opportunity for our students and for Concordia, and I, too, am equally excited about this partnership. So thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Hamilton, are there any other presentations?
Yes, this evening I would like to read into the record a resolution that was written in acknowledgement of the passing of Regent Judith Johnson, who served as an interim superintendent in our district. And after I read this resolution, I would like the board to present a motion for adoption, so it is formally read into the record. And it reads as follows. Whereas Regent Judith Johnson dedicated her life and career to the empowerment of children and educators, and whereas Regent Judith Johnson has served the educational community at the highest levels of government and closest to the people at the local level, using her knowledge, political savvy, wit, and wisdom to effect change socially and educationally across all communities, and whereas Regent Johnson's passion for public education ensured all children had access to a high-quality education that would allow them to reach their full potential, whereas Judith Johnson served as interim superintendent of schools for the Mount Vernon City School District from 2012 to 2014, and whereas Regent Johnson led the Mount Vernon City School District through a time of extraordinary challenge, and while dedicating herself to ensuring that the children of Mount Vernon had access to the same opportunities as children in neighboring communities. And whereas Regent Johnson dedicated her life's work towards ensuring that all children, regardless of race, demography, or religion, could take full advantage of the incredible public education system offered in this great state and across our nation. Her crusade for social justice has inspired an entire cadre of educators to work for the changes necessary to bring equity to our school system. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mount Vernon Board of Education recognizes Regent Judith Johnson for her commitment and dedication to children and education of the Mount Vernon City School District, the state of New York, and the nation. Be it further resolved that the Mount Vernon City School District will recognize Regent Judith Johnson, and during the November 6, 2019 Board of Education meeting, through a moment of silence and reflection of her career and service, and as such, this resolution shall be read into the permanent records to memorialize her unrelenting dedication and contribution to the lives of children and their families in the Mount Vernon City School District. This was written October 27, 2019.
May I please have a motion to adopt the resolution in honor of former Mount Vernon City School District Interim Superintendent and New York State Regent, Dr. Judith Johnson.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Comments, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
And if we can follow that with a moment of silence before the presentation. Thank you.
Dr. Hamilton, I understand we have an additional honor for Regent Dr. Johnson this evening?
Yes, and if you will join me at the podium. I don't see Paul. Would you be willing to accept Mrs. Lightsey? This evening, the district would like to present the Mount Vernon City School District Nightlight Award posthumously to Regent Dr. Judith Johnson for outstanding contribution to the Mount Vernon City School District and the students of the state of New York and the nation. She will be forever remembered for her unwavering commitment to social justice, equality, and equity in education. Her commitment to education for our children was always a labor of love. Quote, "You can only become truly accomplished by doing something you love. Don't make money your goal. Instead, pursue the things you love doing and then do them so well that people can't take their eyes off of you." And close quote, Maya Angelou, presented November 6, 2019. And I will ask Mrs. Lightsey, Frances Lightsey, on behalf of the family, to accept this Nightlight Award and present it to them on our behalf. All right. Very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just that she was a very special lady, and she will be sorely missed. There was a beautiful presentation for her at the Regents meeting on Monday morning, and we have to keep her legacy alive because she fought very, very hard for our children, most especially. Thank you.
Later on in my report, we'll be sharing a video that was done in memorial of Regent Johnson. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. McGrath if he would come forward and present the BRIM app and explain its origin, if you will.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
So we're always looking at bringing more efficiencies to the district using technologies. Tonight, we're going to talk about how we're going to use technology to improve our customer feedback loop, specifically when people have something that they need to kind of voice their opinion on. There may be a complaint or an incident. This can be something as little as, I noticed that the light was out in a particular hallway and I want to make sure everybody knows about it, or something a little bit bigger. Right now, you can go to the next slide. So essentially, the shift is going to be as simple as taking that paper form and bringing it to an iPad. Now that sounds very so what, but there's a lot of good reasons why we want to do that, and I want to talk about the efficiencies behind changing that experience, right? So not just moving it from paper to a digital experience, but some of the benefits of doing that. You can go to the next slide. So right now, somebody comes, they fill out a paper form, the paper gets time-stamped, it has to get organized, it has to get reviewed. This is a very inefficient system, and then somebody has to create an email and track, and did we resolve it? Did we write back to them? And it just isn't systematic. So and there's no aggregate data that says, hey, we received X number of complaints about this particular issue, we should give it more attention. So by digitizing it, we can actually create aggregate data, and we can have a smoother, more efficient workflow that'll help us provide better customer service, which is the goal. Next slide. So we're using software called BRIM software. BRIM is actually, I don't know what BRIM stands for, I've asked them. But BRIM, I don't know why they call it BRIM. BRIM essentially started out as anti-bullying software, where students could come and they could report bullying, but we've actually had them customize that so that it actually now becomes a portal for us to collect, organize, and respond to complaints. So not only are we able to collect them, but we can use the system to respond and resolve the issues. Incidents can be tracked in real time, so that we can also now say, oh, this is definitely a technology issue. Let me make sure that I get it to Joe McGrath. This is definitely a buildings and grounds issue. Let me make sure it gets where it needs to go, et cetera. So things don't kind of fall through the cracks. So we're going to start this originally as a pilot in the superintendent's office, and with plans that we can actually expand it from there as we see fit. If we want to jump to we're going to display some of what this actually looks like. So I'm going to show you guys, I left some of the screens up so you can see the PowerPoint, but we're actually looking at live. This is what it basically looks like. And I just selected a school at random, but it doesn't really matter for purposes of demonstration. They click the button that says report new incident, and they can type in the incident. So some people have trouble typing. What's nice about an iPad, of course, is that you can talk to it. right? So that worked, thankfully. You go live, you never know, right? They put in the date of the incident, hit the next button. And the reason we want to pilot this initially in the superintendent's office is we want to have a live person there to assist people through this. We don't know people coming, what their technical abilities are. They may be really technical and go, hey, no big deal, I'll just download the app and I'll do it. I don't need to come. But then there's other people that may just need to not only submit this, but also talk to people and have some technical help or just understand the issue better. So we wanted to create an environment where we're recording things digitally, but also we're giving people the ability to actually get help to do that. Some people may not have the technical skills. So we don't want to make sure that we don't exclude anybody, so that's why we're building it the way we're doing it. Next, they say, where did the incident take place? And you'll notice we have a couple of different places. One of them is computers, because we also wanted to build in this the ability for people to report any sort of cyber breach that they might have, right? So we're getting ready for some of these new laws that are coming into place, and we want to make sure that we have a reporting mechanism where people can say, hey, I'm a little concerned about whatever issue it is. This is all customizable, so if we find ourselves going, hey, we forgot about something, we can go back and edit it. All right, and then they say who they are. I am the victim, I am the friend, I'm a classmate, I'm a community member, I'm a school personnel. Again, also customizable. And then they continue to submit. So now we have the base data. Very often people are concerned that we didn't get back to them, or we want to make sure that we can get back to them. So if they just add the additional information, such as who they are and their phone number, et cetera, it'll let me go through this again, sorry. Live, you know something wrong is going to go wrong. Oh, thank you. It doesn't want you to say something small. It wants you to give it a full description. So if you say too little, it'll stop you, make you do it again. Again, this is just for demonstration purposes. I'm not too concerned. Add some additional details. And we're there. That's never happened before. All right, let's jump to the screenshots. That's hysterical. Sorry, guys, that has never happened. It might be the beaming. I'm assuming that it is. Jump to the screenshots. Because not only is it an app, it's also a website that we can populate. And the website looks like this. You want to put it up on the center screen too, please? The website looks basically like this. You pick your school. Next slide, please. You choose your category, and again, these are ones that we thought were the most important to have out there. Click next. You put in the description, the information. You choose who you are. There is a CAPTCHA, which means that you have to, like, click all the pictures of a stoplight or click all the pictures of whatever to make sure that a robot doesn't go in there. But basically, pretty straightforward. People just come in, put in their information. Go ahead, click report incident. And then it asks you, hey, do you want to give us some more information? Tell us who you are so we can get back to you. And they put in their information. Click next. And then they can add some other things. So, for example, you can give information like, hey, I already told so-and-so about this. this has been going on for 2 weeks or however long it's been going on. So they give them different options so they can really decide how much they want to share with us. Go ahead, click that. Oh, actually, go back for a second. If they're doing it from the website, they can also upload a picture. So if they saw something and they say, hey, I want to make sure you see this, here you go. Click next. And then this, we ask them to check off which category it applies to. And again, this is customizable, so we can edit this as we need to. Buildings and grounds appears twice in the slide, but we assume that that's just an accident. Go ahead, click next. And then talk about aggregate data. So now we can actually start to see how many of these types of incidents are coming out. How many over a period of time are people reporting that there's damaged property or that there's, and this is obviously for demonstration purposes, not real data. But you get the idea. We can actually see what we need to focus on. For the very first time, we can actually take what people say and turn it into real actionable data, which is really nice. All right? And again, this is, just demonstration data, but you can also look for trends and look for where you're seeing the most data in just different ways. Next slide. And this is really nice. This is a back end, so this is what the administrator would see. So, for example, in this example, again, completely made up, anybody in red is a school that has open incidents. So, for example, if we were to say, hey, Thornton High School has one open incident, Thornton High School, after I did this as a sample, wrote to me and said, what do we do? They were on it. They got the email, the system worked. It wasn't even testing it, but it really worked. So we're really happy to see that. And the basic idea is, from a central office point of view, we can kind of track how schools are handling these complaints when they come in as well. Next slide, please. And that's basically it. It's designed to feel very user-friendly and very simple, but a very powerful back end. We can actually do some great analytics.
Cool.
Great, thank you.
So our complaint system will move from the paper system to a digital system that allows us to get, first of all, greater detail, and second of all, to ensure that there is a system to document and track it by way of putting data together, but also to make certain that we close the loop and there's a feedback opportunity to ensure that parents are getting a timely response to their concerns. And they will also have access to this in an app form that they can complete at their leisure. They don't necessarily have to come in the office to do it. So we are piloting this in the superintendent's office effective next Monday, which I think is, I don't remember the date, but next Monday it will be live, and we will circulate that information to our parents, and when they come in to fill out their complaints, instead of the paper form, they will be directed to a kiosk in the office that they can enter this information digitally.
So how is it disseminated? So you have some facilities, some bullying. Who gets it? Who knows who gets it, and how is it going to be resolved?
So Miss Gregory is the liaison in my office who manages complaints. And right now what happens is they come in, they complete a form. Once it escalates to the superintendent's level, they fill out an incident report. I get the report. Ms. Gregory follows up with the school to get the supporting detail. And if I need to meet with the parent, I then have all the information I need in order to have a fruitful conversation or resolution. Most of the time, it's handled at the building level. Once it reaches me and I get the additional information, principal's able to do that. What this system will allow us to do is make sure that we are tracking that information so we can see specifically which complaints are outstanding and haven't been responded to, and which school may have the most or the least number of complaints that are submitted and resolved.
So that's for parent complaints, facility issues, everything?
Everything, yes.
So who, Mr. McGrath, it's Darcy, you mentioned that, where have you been? No, this is great. This is wonderful. I think this is fantastic. But so when you said someone at Thornton got an email, who is going to be the point person? In other words, if a complaint is registered electronically, it sounded to me like the first person who would see that would be someone in the building who would get an email. Who is that person who would get the email? Does it vary by building? Is it the chief administrator? Who is that?
So it's completely customizable, the software, the way we built
Okay.
it. I have lots of ideas. I don't know any of them are good. It's a great question. It's really something for the leadership to really think about how they're going to, and I think it's going to be on a case-by-case basis.
Right, because right now, depending on the report, oftentimes if an anonymous report, if it appears to be credible, if it identifies a violation of law or safety, it's investigated. If it does not reach some of that sense of urgency, then we generally don't respond to anonymous letters or complaints.
What is the implementation timeline? I know that there will be kiosks set up here, but how long do you anticipate the transition will take? Because I don't know that everyone will have access to the app. So district-wide, what is your goal for implementation?
So we really want to, excuse me, we really want to see what the feedback is from the public before we establish firm timelines. If we
Okay.
come in and people feel like it's a very fluid process and it's really easy, and Ms. Gregory feels that she doesn't need to be constantly assisting people, then we'll have a faster rollout. If, on the other hand, we find that people are really struggling with it and then we need to do more, then we'll revisit. So we haven't really established that. We really want to give it a couple weeks. Let's see what the feedback is from the people that are actually using the system before we establish something firm.
Okay, and then I have another question with respect to the complaints that are still being submitted in writing. How will you capture or merge the data, or so that you get both the data that's being submitted electronically and written, so that we have the monthly reports that captures all of that data?
Ms. Gregory will enter those reports that are still done that way. She will enter them into the system. I anticipate at the beginning we're going to see an uptick because people will have the convenience of being able to do it from home or wherever once they have access to the website. Right now, the number of complaints that we get at the superintendent's level is really pretty manageable. We don't have a whole lot of people that come in and fill them out. And generally, when they do, it has reached a point of such frustration that their turnaround time is actually pretty quick.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Munoz, did you want to say something?
Yeah, so I was actually playing with the app because you told me I could download it on my phone, so I was doing it as we speak. I was actually trying to think of something to complain about, but I didn't have anything at the very moment. I wanted to see how easy it was. I wanted to,
If you want to
test it
complain
out.
and just write sample complaint testing.
I know, but I didn't want to be that person. I was trying to actually think of like something constructive. But I think that once, and I think maybe even in the rollout, we should start looking at maybe starting rolling out to one school and seeing how it works with the parents that don't come in here. Because I think ultimately the people that end up coming in here, as you said, it tends to be a much higher level of frustration. It's a different type of issue. They've probably already tried to reach other, people, and so now you're dealing with a different type of situation. Whereas like the other day I was driving past Pennington and I was driving with my husband and the lights were on. And I was morally offended. And he's like, you think you pay for the lights? And I'm like, we do pay for the lights. That's tax dollars. So that's the kind of thing that, you could quickly just shoot a and be done. And then I wouldn't be sitting there for 2 days talking about how we left the lights on overnight. But, something like that where maybe we could start rolling it out to a building to see how the parents who don't come in feel about it. Or even just a classroom or something.
How are we going to promote this? Are we going to promote this through our phenomenal parent liaisons? So it's going to be school by school? Or are we going to, because I think this is something that could really eliminate a lot of noise.
Well, we're going to do it in stages. The first stage will be, again, at the superintendent's office. And then next we will either choose the elementary rollout and then a middle level rollout and then ultimately the high schools, so that it's gradual and incremental. But again, fortunately, our complaint level is not so voluminous that we couldn't roll it out a little more rapidly. But like I said, because of the convenience, we think there's going to be an uptick in the beginning, and then it'll subside, and that'll be our real data.
Well, I would also expect now that people heard about it and you can download it yourself, right. I would expect that we're going to have an uptick anyway because now I have it too.
Yeah.
So,
Right, and it's almost fully set up with all the schools. We didn't we expect next week to fully roll it out, so we'll have it all the schools turned on by then. So some of the schools aren't fully turned on yet, but by next week they'll all be turned on.
And we still have to run the principals through a protocol for what the feedback loop is on that.
Right.
And that actually happens at the meeting next week.
And that was my next question. What was going to be the protocol for response? Because it's one thing to get all the complaints funneled in, but then making sure that they don't just sit there in the queue and there isn't a timely response and we're sort of back to another issue.
Right. I want to engage the principals in how they manage that. My general rule of thumb is a 24-hour turnaround time for emails and concerns that reach my attention. And I'd like that to be the standard the principals use, but I want their input in terms of how they manage their workload and the number of issues that they may face, because we may need to modify that at schools that are large, like Lincoln or Mount Vernon High, for example.
Sure. So I'm really pleased with this presentation, and I'm glad because this, I think, speaks to the conversations we've been having about customer service and elevating the opportunities and options for our parents and our community stakeholders. So I think this is heading in that direction. I think it's a really good first step. I'm glad that this is available, and I look forward to its district-wide implementation. So thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Well, the other thing, just in terms of rolling out, just as a side note, is I also think we should make sure that we promote this after, obviously, the schools and everybody. We promote it to the public as well, because there are parents that have been contacting me saying that they want to see schools for, to do tours, and they can't reach the principals. Oh, I've called the number. So this would give them the opportunity to just shoot a boom, 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 and be done, and then there's a record of it instead of,
Yeah. The idea is to make sure that we capture the voices.
Sure. Awesome. Sure.
It's really
Great.
This is
Thank
really
you.
exciting. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
I had one question. As we look through the topics that you can choose to log a complaint or incident report, I didn't notice if I saw something for, say, teachers or administrators or staff in the school. And I mean, I'm a parent. I've been in contact with plenty of parents, and believe it or not, people do complain about our staff. in our buildings, as well as the teachers, sometimes the principals, sometimes administrators. Is there an ability to use this app also to file incident reports in those situations as well?
So the menus are customizable, so we can add different things. We don't want to necessarily make it about any one person, but maybe there's a behavior that we want to kind of put in. Maybe there's a classroom incident that we can add to that. But again, it's really designed for kind of bigger issues. I don't know if.
And parents have not been shy about naming staff members.
Right, and so
They'll use the app.
they would probably
I
put
have
that
no
in the
doubt.
description, I would imagine.
Right.
Okay. Great.
The other thing too about this that I want to add, which I was really happy to see, is that it's searchable. So if you keep hearing this description, I keep hearing about this pothole in front of this building or whatever the, I made that up obviously, whatever the issue is, you can do a search for any keyword and you can say, wow, we don't have a category for it, maybe we should add one because that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
So we can modify it as the need comes up.
Great.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And that's it for presentations.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hamilton. Now we're going to move on to board member reports.
Communications.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I'm sorry. We're going to move on to communications from the public. Are there any communications from the public this evening?
Yes, good evening. The Mount Vernon Board of Education recognizes the critical importance of community discourse and involvement in the education of Mount Vernon's children, and accordingly, members of the public are invited to speak at each regularly scheduled board meeting, subject to the terms of board policy. Speakers must register in advance no later than 4 p.m. on the date of the meeting by contacting myself, the district clerk, here in person at 165 North Columbus Avenue, by phone at 914-665-5235, or via email at rmccormack@mtvernoncsd.org. The board welcomes all respectful comment, whether praise or criticism. However, identifying and criticizing a specific student, parent, teacher, administrator, or other Mount Vernon education official is strictly prohibited. Such complaints must be presented and addressed through the proper administrative channels. Each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes to speak, with up to an additional minute to be used for the speaker to summarize and conclude their remarks. If appropriate, board trustees and/or the superintendent of schools or his designee may respond to the speaker's remarks at the conclusion of the public comment portion of the meeting. Our first speaker this evening is Patricia Richard.
Linda Richards.
Linda Richard. I'm sorry.
That
can happen.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for allowing me to be here and the opportunity to speak. I really thought I missed it. It means a lot to me to be here. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone sitting here, and I'd like to thank the board, the committee, superintendent for the wonderful work that y'all have done. I know many times I either come here as Linda Richard the parent or Linda Richard the Family Guidance Center of Westchester, but right now I stand before you as the parent, always the parent. I currently have 3 boys who are in Mount Vernon School District, and I took the opportunity to remove 3 of them at one time out of the school district, looking for new opportunities and new answers. And unfortunately, it didn't work for one of my sons. While he was in the school district, he received the opportunity to receive the Title I services, which was part of it was either Sylvan or the other program. And I have to say, I am happy to have him back into the Mount Vernon School District now. And he's doing wonderful. I know with the school district, right now he's at Thornton High School, so he has the opportunity to be part of the Power Hour, which is a 2-hour reading and math class. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And plus there's additional supports that we offer him. Not too many parents take the opportunity to come out to say thank you. I thank you. It's not easy being a parent of many children and grandchildren. I know you can't tell, but 6 of them.
That's Patricia.
Yeah, that's Patricia. Nah, it's Linda. But the reality is that it's not easy being a parent, being a worker, being a sister, being wearing a lot of hats and taking the time out to do homework. Homework is hard. And the way homework is now is not the same math it was growing up when I was doing it. So I really appreciate the services that are being offered to our children today, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And by the way, that parent portal is for compliments as well. Keep our data straight.
Our next speaker is Sheena Palmer.
Greetings and salutations.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
As you have heard, my name is Miss Palmer. Most people know me by just Curtis and Onara's mom. And I'm here actually representing the parent voice at Columbus School in reference to our fencing situation. We have been 2 years without a fence to help protect our students at Columbus School. And a lot of times we have parents that come up to us to try and voice our opinion in reference to getting a fence for them. We have students that are flight risk. We also have students that have seen other activities outside the school grounds that may be harmful to the children eventually during school and after school. We have concerned parents as well when they see a lot of trash that is on our school grounds, as well as unauthorized usage of the grounds as well. We've had 2 car accidents in the area where the children play, and there's no protective fence for our children. So now I'm just asking to see if there are any plans in place to be able to have a fence at Columbus School.
Madam President, may I?
So, yes. Dr. Hamilton, can you please respond?
Sure. First of all, good evening. Good to see you again. My last month, the district PTA council met, and this was one of their agenda items to talk about the fencing at Columbus. So I have asked that we get an estimate to determine what the cost will be for the installation of the fence around the perimeter of the property. Once we share that information with the board, I will ask the board through the budgeting committee where that will fall in terms of its priorities, but we have to first determine what the cost will be. So we anticipate we'll be able to share that at the next budget committee meeting, and we'll be able to give you some follow-up feedback related to where we are and what those potential costs will be.
Is there anything that we can do at the school level?
You can always help raise money. Because I'm sure that's going to be one of the concerns, because it is such a large parcel of land there. I don't know exactly what it's going to entail, and there are various levels of fencing that we can put up, of course, and that will impact the cost. But right now, it is on our radar, again, because the council brought it to my attention last month. And once we get that information, then we'll ask the board to consider it.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for coming out this evening, Ms. Palmer. Okay. So that concludes public speaking. So now we'll move to the next section of our agenda, which is board member reports. And I'd like to invite trustees to share any reports of their activities or items of interest in the district.
I don't have any reports right now.
Trustee Miller.
I just wanted to say that we had a information session. Was that last week? Was it 2 weeks ago? We had an information session at Mount Vernon Hospital, which we had promoted, and thank you to the parent liaisons for promoting this session at all their events, their math nights, and all this other stuff, all these other opportunities to interface with parents and let them know that this was an opportunity for them to perhaps be a part of the newly formed board of the Mount Vernon Education Foundation. So we did have an information session a couple weeks ago, and we had several, I think, highly interested and engaged community members who would like to participate. So we asked them, we did a very short presentation and then kind of did a Q&A conversation. We have asked for resumes to be and letters of interest in participating in the foundation board, or to be considered for the foundation board to be submitted by December 1st, and then we're going to be making some formal announcements after the first of the year, and then hopefully reconstituting and having a launch for the foundation in February. So we're moving along, and we have a meeting scheduled for the 19th, or the 18th, Monday the 18th at 6:30 here at the Ed Center, where we're going to discuss next steps.
Thank you, Trustee Miller. Trustee Mitchell? Would you like
We
to?
have nothing at this time. I'm sorry. I've been communicating with Dr. Gayon and Rachel DePaul as I've been trying to align our schedules so I know when the meetings are, so we will have more to share going forward.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Munoz-Patterson. Now, these are board member reports, so you can talk about your participation in district activities or at events or just general insights.
I feel a lot of pressure now to speak.
You don't have to.
We are in discussions right now with Dr. BC and discussing the Christmas event that we're going to put on this year. We're really excited about it. If anyone wants to donate, let us know. Speaking of money. And then on Monday night, we went to a board, is it Board of Education? It was BOE, right?
Yeah, it was the Westchester Putnam School Board Association.
School Board Association, regarding global citizenship and looking at the internet, and they have a really interesting curriculum in terms of getting students to understand how to be good global citizens on the internet, and it's something that we have the information to bring back to share with everybody, which was very interesting. So I think we're going to talk more about that later, though.
Yes, we are. That and other topics.
So
Yes.
can Trustee Munoz, can you share with me, you and Trustee Miller are looking to do a Christmas extravaganza. What are you looking to do, and what do you need donations of?
Especially extravaganza.
Can you share? Yeah, explain for everybody
tell me the
what
details.
Yes.
We're still working some of them out, but the hope is that we're going to have Christmas caroling and a cocoa station and a number
Ornament
of things for the
making.
kids.
So
Arts
where-
and crafts ornament
where-
stations for the kids.
Where is this, and what's the date?
We don't have those.
What do you want? Everything?
Gee.
My gosh, woman.
We were thinking that Holmes might be a good venue because we were hoping that we could have, but we're going to look at all venues but we were thinking that we could have one room where the students would have their cocoa and make ornaments and do certain crafts around the holidays, and then bring them into the auditorium where we have a tree where they could trim the tree with the decorations they made, and have special celebrity visits by perhaps Santa, and give gifts to the students. So it's very kid-centric, and kind of maybe old-fashioned. What do you think?
I like it.
Traditional holiday type thing.
And if only we knew somebody who sang really well.
So question is this going to be for the whole district, or are you going to, it is for the whole district, and that's going to be the venue, home, so, or the proposed venue, you're still.
We're looking at other schools too,
Okay.
but I think the hope would be it'd be more like the kids could come in like their Christmas, hats, and it would be, we were gonna talk to one of the nearby companies to see if they could decorate the area, and we could have like a district tree, and all the kids could put their ornaments on the tree, and
Yeah.
something.
So this sounds like an activity that quite possibly the whole board might be able to participate on some level or another. I mean, it seems like there's.
I'm not singing, just so we're on the same
Okay.
page.
But everyone can wear an elf hat.
Or organize different activities if you're going to have multiple
Different stations,
activities,
right.
different stations. Perhaps each of the board members can, man a station, man or woman, occupy a station, and provide assistance that way. So maybe that's something you want to.
If somebody has a particular skill set, this would be a perfect opportunity to let us know now, so we
Okay.
could gear it to that particular skill set.
Okay.
Like singing.
Let me know what you need.
Or coloring or something.
Pressure.
Yeah. So just keep us informed then, because I think this would be a good opportunity for the board to engage as a whole in an activity. I know it's not possible for all of us to be present at every single activity, but it would be nice if we could make a concerted effort to be present. And we won't discuss any board business. We'll just be there coloring and drinking cocoa. So
I can volunteer as Santa Claus. I'm qualified to be Santa Claus because of my stomach size.
All volunteers are welcome.
I think I would lend my expertise in Santa Claus.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Trustee Munoz Patterson and Trustee Miller. Trustee Justina, would you like to share anything? with
Nothing
us?
at all, but thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, so the next part of our agenda then is our committee reports. We're going to move right into that section. And this evening, we have reports from Audit Committee. Trustee Munoz Patterson, do you have a report this evening?
I do. We had our preliminary meeting with our auditor. We quickly reviewed the findings from last year. It was very, very data intensive. There was a lot of information, and our full presentation will be at the next public meeting. The auditor will be here to present on the 19th.
Okay, thank you. The next committee report will be the Budget Committee report, and the Budget Committee met on both October 18th and November 1st. And I wasn't present for the 18th, but Melissa, do you want to share, Trustee Munoz, do you want to share anything about that particular meeting, or do you want me to just sum it up?
Can you sum it up?
That's fine. So the Budget Committee is continuing its review of actual spending for the prior year with a goal towards establishing a maximum budget for the next year. We're trying to determine what that budget would look like with and without an increase from the state foundation aid. We're continuing our conversation on transportation. That's an ongoing conversation. We'll have hopefully more to report on that at a future meeting, but that's still an effort that we're undertaking to, again, identify and evaluate opportunities to reduce costs in that area, since last year's budget was basically had an increase because of the fact that we had to go out to bid our transportation, and the cost increased significantly. So that's something we're continuing to review and evaluate and look to identify opportunities to cut costs and realize some savings. We've requested an update on the status of the SMART bond. We'd like to know just where it is and what has been spent thus far and what remains, and that will be reported at a future time. We're also starting to look at what the budget would look like with the onboarding of Mandela in another year. So we've asked for information regarding staffing estimates and other costs that will be attendant to that project. Let's see. Oh. And finally, the one item which we're also going to continue to discuss this evening at the roundtable is beginning to have a conversation in the community in order to engage the community to rally and support the district in its efforts to maximize and obtain the state aid that it's entitled to. So you'll hear more about that at our roundtable. The next Budget Committee meeting will be held on Friday, November 15th at 8 a.m. here in the district. All are welcome to attend. Thank you. That concludes my Budget Committee report. Okay. Sorry. I apologize, Dr. Hamilton, again. I skipped over
That's quite all
the
right.
presentation to Dr. Hamilton.
I'm here all
Do you have-
night.
Okay, thank you. I should take off my glasses. They're not doing me any justice.
Yes, continue on this.
Okay, Dr. Hamilton, do you have a report?
Yes, ma'am. Just by way of information, the school safety plan has been uploaded today, and it will be available for 30 days for public comment. So we are asking, it's part of the requirement that the plan be available for review for 30 days, and then on the the November 19th board meeting, we will do a public presentation, and then it will be presented to the board for adoption at the December 10th meeting. As part of my weekly confidential to the board last week, Columbus School was recognized as an Avid Elementary Showcase site for the Northeastern region. Sites chosen to host a showcase have been identified by Avid staff as exhibiting exemplary implementation of Avid methodologies, and the official showcase for the other schools within the tri-state area to visit Columbus School will take place on February 7th. The school has started to plan for the day, and we wanted to conduct a dry run showcase for our own district on December 12th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we would love for some of our trustees to serve on a panel of experts to speak on the support of the board, specifically about how the board has demonstrated the support of AVID, and would like to invite you all to the AVID Elementary in Action at Columbus for a dry run on the 7th. And other great news, we've been talking about IB, and you've had a few. Yes, ma'am.
7th or the 12th?
The 7th is
The February 7th is the actual showcase. December 12th is our dry run, our practice.
Lost a month. Thank you.
We've been talking about IB, and we've received feedback about where we are relative to our application process. As you know, the IB certification is an extremely arduous process. We've received a report regarding IB application status, and we are submitting the final application this Friday, but I am pleased to report that Mount Vernon High School has met 31 of the targeted indicators, which suggests that IB is giving us careful consideration, and there are only 8 remaining indicators that we need to satisfy. We have, they list them in red, yellow, and green. We have no indicators in red, and we're well on our way to bringing this IB implementation to fruition. So I'll be sending the full report to you to review in this week's confidential. So you'll have that to read over the weekend, and certainly follow up with any questions. But that's great news because of the arduous task with being recognized as a candidate for IB status. And that completes the superintendent's report for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Hamilton. Okay, so now we've completed all of our reports. We're going to move on to the agenda. So the first item we'll review is the human resources resolutions. Can I have a motion to approve the human resources resolutions?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Are there any questions, comments, or discussions? None? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay. The next item on our agenda is number 7, business office resolutions. Can I have a motion to approve the business office resolutions?
Motion.
Second? Okay, are there any questions, comments, discussion on any of these resolutions?
7.2.
Trustee Munoz-Patterson, do you want to ask a question or make a comment?
I'd like some more information on it, because I don't believe this is the, unless I'm mistaken, is this the same thing as what all the change orders were for?
The large change order we talked
Yeah.
about? No, this does not reflect that.
Great, so explain.
Sure. Mr. Policio, you want to take that? This is the emergency resolution for masonry work at Mandela.
So it is related to the large gable issue and the parapet issue. So because we're over the MCA, we wanted to get it declared as an emergency. It is the gable end that is leaning off the building. If you all declared an emergency, the district will be eligible for state aid. That is the reason for the it is an emergent situation, but the secondary reason is that we will be able to get state aid on it.
So I just want to be clear, when we were at the building that day, we talked about the parapet wall, and we talked about, this is part of that issue?
It's an additional issue that was uncovered because of the parapet demolition.
So as we were taking the parapet wall down, we then noticed this other issue.
Right. On the eastern end of the building, the gable that's over, what a gable is, it's the pointy part of the brick, the masonry on the top of the building. I was going to report this during my change orders, but there's several cords of brick, maybe 20 or 30 by many, many yards, that has started to detach from the building. When the parapet wall was demoed at that area, we were able to look down and see the gable actually separating. I wasn't going to prepare to say this, but
wait, hold on. I want to make sure that we're operating from the same frame of reference. So this is not the large change order we've been talking about, waiting for the engineer's report.
It is.
But 2 hours ago, we said we weren't putting this on because we didn't have that engineer's report.
It's not on. The change order is not on, but that's what
It's
it
the emergency
eventually will be.
declaration.
Declaring it the emergency, but this is not the change order.
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
I hate to beat a dead horse, but just to be clear then, that means there's another big change order coming.
Yes.
That is very correct.
Fantastical.
Okay. Should we stay here and do the change orders, or?
Well, let's get through this resolution.
Okay.
Let's get through this section first, I think, and then I'll call you back up when we're done. Okay, thank you. Okay, does anyone have any more questions or comments or discussions on any of the resolutions for the business office? Item 7? Questions, comments? No? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Okay, motion carries. All right. May I please have a motion to approve the Office of School Improvement Resolution?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions, comments, discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Okay, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the Student Services Resolution. Can I have a motion to approve the Student Services Resolution?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Are there any questions, comments, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion carries. Okay. Now, Mr. Palicio, will you please approach the podium with Mr. Babiello? Can I have a motion to approve the resolutions for the buildings and grounds, or to approve the buildings and grounds resolutions?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Palicio, will you please explain change orders?
Good evening, everyone. Just to further clarify the Mandela emergency issue, it is an emergency safety issue aside from the MCA reasoning, and the work that we're actually doing, as painful as it may be at times, actually allowed us to discover this condition, because you really can't see it any other way unless you're up on the scaffold looking directly parallel with that building elevation, and you can see that portion of the building leaning, in addition to the description Michael gave of the adjacent parapets that we already opened up, where you can see the separation. So we're actually thwarting off a potentially bigger issue by addressing this now.
See, my concern, and just to be clear, is that when we have a company that comes in and says, and whomever it may be, that comes in and says, hey, this is what you have to get done. I went and looked, and it's the same thing with any contractor, right? I call the contractor and I'm going to look at my kitchen. I say, what do I need to do? They go, oh, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And then when you open the wall, I get it that you see something different because maybe you didn't see the interior of the wall. Okay, fine. But when you pay somebody to do a job, and if we're having, I'm assuming we're having drops. I'm assuming we're having drops. We're having people go on the exterior of the building and look at the exterior of the building from, up there. No, we don't do that before we do big construction projects?
We did a massive probing of the entire building.
Okay, then my concern is that there are some things that I feel that should have been, I feel more comfortable if we figured or heard about it before, rather than hearing about it after, and then the statement that was made weeks ago was, hey, listen, we've done all demolition is done, most of the big, I believe the direct quote was, most of the big change orders are already in, don't freak out, guys. That was, I'm paraphrasing that whole bit, the don't freak out bit. But now suddenly we're being hit with these big change orders, and what raises my concern is who was looking at this before and what else are we in for later down the line?
So when we talked about the gutting of the building, we were referring to the interior of it. When we walked with the trustees, we all had a bird's eye view of the actual parapet wall and the steel that is deteriorating up there. As a result of that demolition, these other demolitions were able to, these other conditions were discovered. When you do probing, you don't erect scaffolding The scaffolding around the building is what gives us some other bird's eye views of things that we could not see without those types of elevations. And the only way to see them is actually during the actual construction time. It's a 100-year-old building. So I will say this one thing. If we did nothing to this building, absolutely nothing, and we kept it as it was, that gable would have fallen onto Gramerton Avenue. There is just no doubt about it. So the construction, as unpleasant as it is sometimes, probably saved some lives in this one because that whole gable was coming down.
Yeah, I do a lot of work with buildings in New York City. I know local law 11. I understand the whole we don't like bricks falling on people's head. We tend to frown upon that kind of thing. I get it. I'm not making light of that. And what my concern is that I'm just concerned what's coming later down the line that maybe we didn't see, because in general, as I said, most of my clients, before they do a big project like this, they would have done drops and they would have dropped a scaffold. Literally, you take was it that little thing that people stand on?
So the hoist scaffolds were unavailable because of the parapet conditions. They were unsafe to hoist things down the building. So erecting of a scaffold from the street level is the only safe way to do this, and that was hundreds of thousands of dollars. So and that's typically not done in a probe situation. If you can't scaffold down, you can see what you can see from whatever elevations you can get to. They took massive amounts of probes, and we got a lot of things that that are now conditions that are in the bid package because of the probes that we did. I don't know how to explain what we didn't see. I don't know that there is an explanation for what we didn't see. I believe, I feel that we did our due diligence when we did these probes. Like I said, it's a 100-year-old building, and we are confident that once we get inside the building, we are completely demoed on the inside, and the unforeseen conditions should be limited to very small amounts of projects, small amounts of change orders going forward. The exterior stuff we could not see until we were up there.
Am I allowed to quote you later? You did say there's a smaller amount of. I'm just.
Yes.
I don't want anyone to look at me and,
I
you
think
know.
You know the preamble,
aggressive.
based on what I know and understand today.
That's a better.
No, that's okay. That's fine. We'll do it both ways. Okay.
So we do have tonight Julian Alexis. He's from Peter Gisolfi. He's going to be going over some of the change orders. There was quite a few of them. Mr. Babiel will do some of them, and I will do some at the end as well.
So they may be slightly out of order from what's on the tabs, just because of how we grouped it logically for us to present to you. GC number 14 was at Mandela for the general contractor. This was for remobilization of their sub, the masonry consultant, due to the discovered conditions that we experienced. It extended and increased their scope of work for a longer period of time. And obviously, the design team needed an opportunity to review and assess the conditions. So they had a pause in their work, essentially, and had to then remobilize. GC number 15, also Mandela School for the general contractor. And actually, the next four that I'm going to present are related to the parapet work and the discovered conditions. So this will be number GC 15, 16, 24, and 31. This one, number 15, was related to existing steel that was deteriorated. We needed to provide additional metal clips to support the new masonry. Number 16, we had to provide additional steel support on some of the discovered deteriorated steel beams that were exposed following the removal of the existing masonry facade. Number 24, again, this was at the north and south side parapets, but is actually related to the condition of the backup masonry. So once we took the face brick off, there is a portion of the masonry that was to remain behind there, and then we were providing the new face brick onto that. But once we removed that face brick, we saw that the condition was not sound to receive it without providing this additional mortar parging to essentially make it one uniform piece again. It was cracked, there was pieces falling out. Number 31 was the actual replacement of a section of the steel channels that were beyond reuse at this point. So we installed 3 new pieces of numeric painted C channels along the south elevation parapet. GC number 17, again for the general contractor at Mandela. This was a discovered ceiling condition. Once we were in the mechanical room and we removed all the existing equipment and ductwork, there was an additional metal ceiling that was discovered that we just couldn't see during the design. So that had to be removed. GC number 18, again for the general contractor at Mandela. This was related to the tie-in of the new stair tower foundation to the existing building. We didn't have the luxury of any original drawings for this building. They just, over time, disappeared. Nobody had them in the district. So some assumptions were made. What we found once they started the excavation for the new stair tower was an atypical condition of the existing footing. And based on today's construction standards and codes, footings typically have to go deeper than they had in years past, below frost level. And essentially what underpinning is providing an additional section of foundation below an existing structure for us to tie into at the proper elevation by today's standards. GC 27 and 19 for the general contractor at Mandela. These are related, so I'm going to group them together. Related to the masonry subcontractor, again, this was just specific to the rental of the scaffold due to the prolonged conditions, or prolonged period of time that we needed it due to the structural issues that we've encountered. GC number 26, general contractor at Mandela. So at the area of the proposed main office, if you recall, when we entered the building at the new location of the entry, there was that area to the right. The original structure had a higher floor elevation in this portion of the building. And I think we went over this for those of you that were on site with us that day a few weeks ago. What we found when they started chopping that floor out, because essentially what we're doing is we're bringing that area's floor elevation down to match the corridor and the new entry for an accessible entrance both into the building and into the main office. When they started that demo, they actually found a second floor slab and concrete fill, essentially, below the top slab, which was unforeseen and required additional equipment and labor to get that material out down to the elevation. GC 28 for the general contractor at Mandela. This was related to the existing roof structure. When we did the demo of the interior, we took actually both layers of existing ceilings down in the classrooms. At the 4 corners of the building, there's existing roof drains. They had deteriorated over time, and what we found was they were leaking and rotted sections of the existing wood roof joists. So what we had to do is provide additional joists. The term they use is sistering it. They essentially bolt new joists to the existing joists. We had to do this at 4 locations. It was a bit of a tricky installation, but was certainly necessary to ensure that that roof area is sound going forward. GC number 29, general contractor at Mandela. This was, again, in the area of the new main office suite. Following demolition of the interior wall surfaces, we found a waterproofing membrane that was found to be asbestos-containing material. What we did in lieu of a full abatement is we decided to encapsulate it, which is another standard practice. So this is to provide a new wall furring in front of that backup wall. And Julian is going to go through the next handful.
Yes. In my presentation, I will be presenting one change order for Thornton, and the balance of my change orders would be for the Mandela project. Since Ken started with the Mandela project, I will continue with the Mandela project and then move on to the Thornton project. My first change order is GC013, which is related to the installation of 5/8 high-impact gypsum board in the gym. During the course of demolition, what happened is a different condition to what was anticipated was found in the gym. So in order to create a sound wall system that the kids can bounce the ball against, we decided to go with the 5/8 instead of the 3/8 that was originally anticipated. My next change order is GC020, which is modified framing for doors 110 and 212. Again, this was related to structural issues that we discovered at the Mandela project in the corridors. There are vertical loads that go through the corridors at Mandela because it's not a steel structure building. And what happens is we had to make modified openings, and we can't just make openings in the corridor walls because of the loads that are transmitted through the walls. We found a couple of structural issues, and we had to create vestibules into the classrooms, which was a departure from the original design. And this is the reason why we have this change order. Yes. My next change order is 021, which is related again to 020 and 026. My next change order is 022. Yes, and again, 022 is related to 020. My next change order is GC023, which relates to the installation of cabinet heater within the corridor. Again, that's related to structural issues. The original intent was to chop through the corridor walls, but then during the process of demolition, we found structural issues that were related to the corridor walls and found that we couldn't put the cabinet heater where we originally anticipated. So we decided to put it in a much more safe location, which was underneath the landing of a stair, and that required the change order. My next change order is GC025. That's due to the conditions of the existing floors in the bathrooms. What happened is because of the uneven settling of the building during the course of the years, we had to go through the system in order to ensure that throughout the bathroom we had level floors. So we had to go with a 5/8 Durock on the bathroom floors. My next change order is GC030, which is a CMU infill in the mechanical rooms. What happened is, during the design process, we looked at the mechanical rooms, but they were so filled with ductwork and equipment that we couldn't actually see some of the walls. But because what happened is, if you walk through Mandela when Mandela, prior to demolition, you would see all these big ducts going through the lower level. And you couldn't see what was happening in some of the rooms. So in that boiler room, we couldn't see what was happening behind these ducts. So what happened, when they took off the ducts, we saw that there were walls, structural walls that needed to be reinforced. And that's the reason for this change order. My next change order is MC001. Provide ERUs in the basement. This was related to getting the ERU units into the mechanical rooms. And again, being at the lower level, this is the critical level that carries the rest of the building, and we couldn't make wider openings to get the units in, so we had to order sectional units that are broken down in 2 sections that we could get into the mechanical rooms. So that's the reason for this change order.
Question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What is an ERU, please?
Energy recovery units.
Just for some of us who are not aware, what does it do?
Well, it's a unit that some of the fresh air goes into the classroom, and a certain percentage of that air is returned back into the unit and recycled back into the classroom, and a certain percentage goes out to the exterior.
So this has got to do with air
Yes.
circulation. Okay.
Yeah, part of the mechanical system.
Mandated by the state rules
Yes.
and state regulations, we have to have a certain amount of recovery outside air that comes into each classroom, as opposed to years ago when that was not.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't just use windows. We have to provide fresh air into the classrooms.
It's nice.
Yeah.
I like this.
And yes, my next change order is MC021 that I talked about already, and it's related to 020, GC020, and that's my last change order.
I will finish up. So the next one is at Trapphagen School. It's for the GC Vinco Builders in one of the science classroom 204. When we originally did demolition, we took down one of the blackboards. There was damage to the wall because the blackboard's been up there forever. And so instead of just doing those type of repairs, we laminated the entire wall, and that created the change order.
What change order number is that, so we can follow
Oh, I'm
along?
so sorry. Absolutely correct. GC02.
It's number 4 in the
Number
summary.
4 on our list.
Next change order, GC011. Sport Tech, Mount Vernon High School, the field project. So this was to install 6-inch couplings, quick connect couplers in several locations throughout the field. What those do is they allow us to get water up to the fields. In the past, what we did is we took it out of the fire hydrant that was at the upper level. So what we did now, and we learned this from Graham, is that these quick couplers allow us to capture water through conventional means, through garden hoses and different type. We have irrigation there, but this is additional water up on the upper part of the field. It does tap off the irrigation. Next one is Mount Vernon High School. This is also Sport Tech, and it is GC012. So this was a bigger change order. So when we were doing the soccer field, the original plan was to seed the field. The soil came back where we were unable to germinate the seed. We tried several times to do some broadcasting of fertilizer, we used some lime. We just couldn't get the field to germinate. So the decision was made that we would sod the entire area. It provides a better product. It germinates instantly. It has taken, and now we have a better product and a safer product for the soccer team. The next change order, GC01.
Can I ask a question about that, Mike?
Sure.
About the sodding? What is the cost of this change order versus the cost of doing artificial turf, roughly? Do you have any idea?
I don't know offhand, but artificial turf is typically 5 to 10 times more expensive than any grass application.
Right.
So, for instance, when we thought about the football field, it was in the hundreds of almost $1 million to do that field. So, GC013, also Sport Tech. So when we took over this project, there were, I can't even tell you the amount of broken equipment that we found. That some were subterranean, some were inside of the surrounding wooded area. So we needed machinery to take it out. We were not capable of doing it. We had to get another party in, and so we used Sport Tech since they were on site to do that. Caused the change order.
What kind of stuff?
And the last change order of this evening is EC001, Talt Electric. This was at the Mandela School. Just one second, please. So in a mechanical room, we could not fit the equipment in through the existing doorway. And because when we were doing the demolition, we found a sump pump in the middle of a sump pit in the middle of the, right in the middle of the room. So we had to redo the layout of the equipment, which then caused the change order.
So I have one question. I remember a couple meetings back, we were at a very low level on the contingency. So where does this bring us up to in terms of utilization of the contingency on this project?
So without the gable, without the big change order that's coming in. Are you logged in? Or this is it, right? No, that's going to be what that is, right? So when the change order comes in, our anticipated, we will be at 1.2 million.
Out of?
Out of the 1.6 and change, 1.8, I'm sorry. So we will have about $665,000
That's
left.
after the next big one that we don't have tonight.
Right.
Because it's about $250,000 tonight.
Yes, that's what we're anticipating.
Okay.
And we're being conservative with our estimates. They're pretty high.
So we're hoping to come in a little bit lower.
Okay.
So I think we're in good shape as far as that's concerned.
So what is the estimate, give or take?
Around 250,000,
Okay.
give or take.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any more questions or comments, discussion on any of these items? No? Thank you, Mr. Policio, Mr. Baviello. Thank you. Right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
I abstain.
Okay.
Because I didn't hear the whole explanation.
Okay, so we don't have, what we have?
Yeah, he's good.
He's good?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So motion carries. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is acceptance of minutes. The first minutes are for the meeting of September 3rd, 2019. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion carries. Next item is the acceptance of minutes for the meeting of September 17, 2019. Can I have a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is adoption of the policy 7500, branding of the districts, names and designations. Do we need a motion? Do you have a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Do we have discussion? Any comments, questions, discussion?
Nope.
Dr. Hamilton, is this ready to be implemented?
Yes, sir.
All right.
No comments? Okay. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion carries. All right, thank you, everyone. The next item on the agenda is our roundtable discussion. And for this evening, I'd like to engage the board in a conversation around engaging community stakeholders for advocacy for state funding. And in order to set up some context for this discussion, I'd like to ask both Dr. Hamilton and Mr. Silver to give us some information on Foundation Aid. I'd like Dr. Hamilton to begin and then followed by Mr. Silver.
Sure. Good evening again. One of the challenges that we have in our district is the fact that we have a very, our demographics are such that our students have such vast needs that when the funding formula was established many years ago, it looked at certain things, specifically the distribution of wealth and the needs of the community and how much ability the community had in order to support the school system. Over years, of course, that distribution of wealth has changed dramatically. Additionally, the state has never fully funded its formula. So there's arguments that while the formula has not served us well because our community is overtaxed, the fact of the matter is the state never fully funded it, so we don't really know if the formula works. Additionally, we have been advocating since I've been in the district for the state to revisit the allocation of foundation aid that comes to Mount Vernon because of the needs of our community and our taxpayers' ability to pay. And those concerns, while we have had audience in Albany several times, oftentimes it's frustrating because we don't feel that we've been able to move the needle. I suggested as one of our strategies that we engage our community in a campaign to really advocate with legislators to, one, either change the formula or at the very least fully fund it, in which event Mount Vernon would be entitled to back money that the state never paid us, which would be substantial in our case. I've been able to, I shared that I was at a roundtable about 3 weeks ago now. We are also scheduled to go to Albany and have another conversation with the Budget and Finance Committee of the Governor's Office to talk about the dynamics of our community and why this is so important. We have the largest number of homeless students in Westchester County. We have a disproportionate number of students who require special services, and we have significant achievement gap and opportunity gap that we must fund. Additionally, our district, as you know, has worked very carefully to restore programs that were lost or eliminated during a time when budgets were defeated and the district had to make some very tough decisions. So we are starting behind the 8 ball to begin with as it relates to making certain that our district is as comparable as possible to surrounding school districts. And while we've made considerable progress in that regard, the fact of the matter is the state has not supported our district financially in the manner in which it should. And I think it is imperative that they begin to hear voices other than mine, other than Mr. Silver's, related to applying some pressure to get the state to fund the formula and provide Mount Vernon with the money that it is entitled to for those programs and services that our children deserve. Mr. Silver, you want to talk more about Foundation Aid specifically?
I don't think the mic is on.
The legislature passed the full foundation funding around 2009, 10 years ago. So there's two parts to our lack of funding. One is the foundation funding, and the other is money that's owed us, which I'm going to take this opportunity just to mention, since we're talking about advocacy. Our foundation aid, our base foundation aid for this current year is $74,500,000. And if we had full foundation funding, it would be over $80 million just for this year. So that's 1 year we're back. We don't actually expect to ever get all of the money that's owed to us. But a single example, going back 1 year, we had $73 million last year.
We would have had, again, $80 million in the current year. If you go back a few years, it's more than $20 million we're missing to be our full foundation funding. It's not realistic to think we're going to get all of it. Every year they talk about a 3-year program to fill in, to take 3 years, part of it each year for the next 3 years. All of those things would help us so much since we're so concerned about raising taxes and we have so many obligations that we are having difficulty meeting. So this advocacy is a great idea. On other money that's owed to us, we know that when this current administration got here, we discovered that a great deal of paperwork had not been completed, having to do with bonds and construction from the year 2000. We completed all that and got notices from the state that they owe us some $10 million and that we'll get it when they can. And that date has been set at 2027 right now that we're supposed to be getting all of our money. Yes, sir.
Clarify, this is a $10 million separate from the foundation aid.
Separate.
Right.
I just felt this is an opportunity, since we're talking about advocacy, to get it on the books that we need to try to get this money before 2027.
What is the total amount that we would be paid in 2027?
Well, that year itself, that 1 year, is about $6 million. But there's other monies, small amounts along the way and after that. That's the big year of around $10 million. This is all building aid where we filed the paperwork late.
But they've said they've acknowledged they owe it to us.
They've acknowledged in writing that they owe it to us. Remember that we also discovered, Dr. Hamilton and I, that we had not actually filed most of the paperwork for the Thornton renovations that were finished in 2008 or 9.
Right.
We're unable even to tell whether some of the work had been done or not because it had deteriorated so much over the years. That's all done, and we are getting some of that aid, but we lost many years of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So any extra money we can get through our advocacy would be a great thing for us.
So when you say they at the state, so is it like one person that has changed over time? Is it different departments? Who are we going to go after? Who are we going to speak to?
We have gone to all of our legislators. Dr. Hamilton has written to all of them. We've met with them. We've been advised by the state that this would require legislation. That it's not a person making the decision. We heard directly from the commissioner at that time, Commissioner Ilya, that this had to be legislation.
I assume Mount Vernon is not the only unfunded obligation on the state of New York's books?
That's correct.
Do we have any sense of missing foundation aid for other school districts, and how does it compare to ours?
Ours is higher in percentage than most of them, but there are many, many school districts. There's, I think, $3 billion in unfunded foundation aid.
Right. And do we have a sense of other school districts? Are people banding together? Is there a class action lawsuit?
They are, frankly, and that's part of where my advocacy has been. But quite frankly, the issue is a little different in Mount Vernon because of the needs of our community, and I have concerns about being as part of a larger group because our needs are so diverse. And I'm sure every superintendent can argue that their community is different. In fact, I would anticipate my colleagues would. But my needs are actually very unique. And I think that Mount Vernon, because of the size of our district and the density of our district, our concerns are slightly different. So I'm concerned about our needs being watered down with some of the other groups whose needs may not be as involved. So if we are going to pair with some other districts, and there's certainly power in numbers, I think we should be very selective about which districts we partner with.
Trustee Saunders, did you have another question?
I'm thinking.
Okay, I thought I saw you.
So, I'm all in. When is the next opportunity for us to, besides doing, I mean, obviously we need a plan for letter writing or social media or, sitting down one-on-one with certain legislators, but is there an opportunity? I remember there was something in December that I read on something you wrote, Dr.
Correct.
Hamilton, where we could go and advocate for the district.
So I've asked our audience with select members of the Budget and Finance Committee in Albany, and the membership in the Big Five is very helpful, by the way, because they have really helped us lobby and advocated on our behalf so that we could get these meetings. So we will be going to Albany in December, and we actually have a prep meeting in December and then session with Senator Mayer, who heads the Finance Committee in, when is that, Ken? February, early February.
So when in December, do you need trustees? Do you need stakeholders? Do you need?
Well, that's a prep meeting primarily. So probably more importantly, it would be a good idea to have, I'm thinking we could start with some petitions, some form letters. Trustee Munoz-Patterson share some information with me today, which I won't steal her thunder when she does her report. I'll have her talk about that, but I think it's a great strategy as well in terms of how we can use social media to help move the needle on that as well. But I think once we have our meeting with the Big Five representatives, we'll be able to tell more specifically how best to engage our community. What I said at the round table was I'm tired of begging. I'm tired of walking around with my hat in my hand on behalf of our kids, and there has to be, not to shame legislators, that's not my intention, but to get them to understand the needs of our community and how it has to be dealt with on a very individual case-by-case basis. And I realize the state has financial issues as well, but that should not lessen our advocacy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Trustee Munoz-Patterson, did you want to say something?
Yeah, so a few things. Number one, there is the same Senate committee that I believe you testified in front of in Yonkers is having an open meeting that we can all go to on December 3rd at 10 a.m. in Manhattan. So I have the paperwork for that for anyone who wants to join. And if anyone in the public wants to join, please feel free. The other thing that that we heard on the meeting on Monday night was Senator Mayer was very eloquently explained how Ossining and 4 other districts in this general vicinity banded together because they all have similar issues. And what they did is they started a whole hashtag movement, Harmed Suburban 5. And essentially, they all owed money as well from the state. And they started a very, very effective social media campaign. And this was one of the things that we had, and so I have little people at home, so I wasn't able to stay till 9:30 and stand in a line and harass the poor superintendent from Ossining. So instead, I took a much more stalkerish approach and just called him. So I spoke to him today, and they expressed interest that, you know, maybe we could come up with a plan, not necessarily tying our future with other districts, but maybe figuring out a way that we can start to leverage, you know, different school districts in different areas, to start leveraging different politicians to see how we can figure out how we can really best utilize social media, how we can, you know, get a creative little hashtag. I had some, but they're probably inappropriate for mixed company. But so we really, you know, been focused on, and the other thing that I'd like to do, and I already spoke to Ken Silver about it, is really understand how the foundation aid formula works, because you can't really complain about something if you don't understand it. And it seems like part of what they've really done is take advantage of the fact that nobody understands it. It's kind of like, I think the list was, and this was in an article that I was reading, the list is that it's a soup to nuts analysis that digs into the underlying DNA of every district in the state. Enrollment, demographic, free and reduced lunch, English language learners, special needs, community standards, fiscal capacity, regional cost index, property values, to name just a few. So it seems like it's kind of like indiscernible to most people. So we're going to try to figure out kind of how we can approach it, going to the actual formula and saying, hey, listen, if you're going to insist on following the formula, which clearly we're not doing anyway. And the other thing I found that would be, I thought, very interesting is that, and I think the numbers, I don't know if the numbers that Mr. Silver has are different than the numbers, but Lowhead has a whole spreadsheet on the whole entire state. And according to these state numbers, we're way off. I mean, dramatically off. Like, they're saying we should have $103 million this year, and we have 73. I don't know if that's accurate. I will say that the city is about $3 billion off, so we're not, you know. But percentage-wise, we're kind of right in the pack with where a lot of other districts are. The differential is that our district is different, and it is different, and it has to be treated differently. And you can't, and that's what I was saying when I had the conversation earlier, is that, you know, the reality is New York City has 10% homeless, we have 12% homeless. You can't compare us to, and particularly in Westchester County, we need to be parsed out. We cannot be treated like the rest of Westchester County. It's just, it's not a fair analysis. You're not comparing apples to oranges. And all you're doing is penalizing students that ultimately need the assistance today. And if we don't give them the assistance today that they need, what happens to them later?
You have to pay for them later.
Well, that's the point. Then you pay, you know, if we're going to pay for it one way or the other, isn't it better that we pay for it today?
Absolutely.
And we have students getting the help they need today versus having an issue later, and for what?
Agree.
I agree with all this.
Going?
I think it's a very compelling, we can frame this in a very compelling way when we have obligations from the state that are 10 years old, and they're telling us we'll pay you in 6 years. That's a 16-year gap. So the money that our kindergartners should have received, they're going to graduate high school and never have gotten that money.
Right.
They're going to complete
Never
their
had the
entire
benefit.
experience.
You're right.
And 16 years late is too late.
And respectively, I think we're on the lower end in terms of money owed outright. I think we're on the lower end there in terms of the numbers that I've seen, and I'll send you guys all the articles I've seen. But it looks like we're on the lower end there. It looks like what the bigger issue for us, I think, would be the focus on the foundation aid.
Formula.
The formula and how it gets applied. And because, I mean, that was the whole thing with Ossining, is that they're owed something like $3,000 a student. It's not even, you know.
So is our formula, well, you're saying we don't know how it works, but
I mean, I don't know.
is our formula in Mount Vernon, maybe Mr. Silver can answer this, is that affected, is that because we're in Westchester, does the county, does our, residing in this county impact the formula for Mount Vernon?
The formula is extremely difficult to comprehend. Trustee Patterson and I will be speaking tomorrow to our consultant from Questar BOCES, who helps us with our state aid. And he is going to attempt to unpack it for us so that it's better able to be understood in an easy way. We looked at it today, just glancing at it. It's pages and pages and hundreds of lines and computations and calculations. So it's not something that we can just say. It is very, very complicated. But we will make it so that we can all understand it before we have to do anything.
And how old is this formula?
Very old. Very old.
20 years old?
It goes back to just after 2000, I think.
Oh, almost 20 years old.
I understand we don't, we can't even do our own taxes. We're not going to figure this out. But what conceptually, what is the process? Is the formula something that the state dictates, and then if we don't like it, we can appeal it?
It is a formula that's passed by the state legislature
Okay.
at that time, or whenever that was, modified as time goes by, and it is something we can comprehend, but not by looking at the documents.
No, I understand, but you're saying it's not like the formula changes year to year. It's something that
That's
the
correct.
legislature passed into law at some point in time, and it's just static. It just stays the way it is.
That is correct. There are certain provisions, such building aid percentage, maximum cost allowance. Those things change over the years, but the basic formula for foundation aid has not changed in many years.
Okay, so just to be clear about this, obviously we need to lobby to get the money that we're owed, and they admit they owe. But in addition, what we're trying to say is, hey, legislators, you should update this formula, and you should update it in a way that gives us more.
And if we're going to do that, we also have several other issues for the legislature.
I'm sure we could think of some.
But they're updating the formula right now as we speak, right? It's under consideration right at this moment, which is...
Committee level?
The Senate currently, has a committee
Yeah.
currently looking at it right now.
Yeah, okay.
The other issue, just to be clear, is that from what I read, let me not, be served later with like I was, insulting anybody or anything. But from what I've read, Governor Cuomo has intentionally not followed the formula. And he's essentially, from what I've read, he's just not followed it in terms of fully funding the formula. So even if the formula is in place, and if the formula was in place, and again, just according to the LOHUD information I pulled down, we should have $103 million, not 73 or 74. So again, I don't know what the intention is, and the reality is everybody's numbers fluctuated. There's not a single county that it looks like everybody increased 2% across the board. That's not what it was. Like we increased, it looks like 2%, 3%, and we're on the lower end. There are some districts that increased 5, 6, 7%.
You mean in terms of what was actually
From
funded?
from the year from I have 2017, 2018 to 2018, 2019.
Right.
And like the city increased 4%, we increased 3%. Some 2, some 1. One place actually had a negative amount.
So...
It seems like it's arbitrary in respect to how it gets applied, and I think that's part of the issue is that there's no set, and that's a lot of what they're saying is there's just no set form. There's nothing.
So that means that we can't do how can you do, and I know this, Mr. Silver, we've had this discussion, how can you do a 5-year plan if you don't know what the foundation aid's going to be year to year? Or even for next year, we don't even know.
We will not know the foundation aid until after the budget is finished.
So we need to follow this up with a planning session for the members of the board that have the bandwidth, the time and the bandwidth to start going door to door and working on social media and attending some of these meetings. I don't know when you want to do that, but...
So there's a lot of energy around this subject, and this is not something that we're going to resolve in this evening, which is why I wanted to bring it up. Just like so many of our other subjects that we've discussed, they're ongoing conversations that we'll need to continue to discuss and plan, just like customer service. This one is critical, and not only will it involve the board, yes, I expect that there will be a lot of engagement from the board, but I think even more importantly, we need to engage our community stakeholders. And so part of this campaign that we have for community advocacy is getting our community informed, getting them involved. And I don't know how we're going to actually implement that. So whether we plan a forum, community forums, where we go out and we start talking to the community about what Foundation 8 is, how it impacts the district, and how it affects our students in the classroom, so that when we do appear for hearings in Albany, I know there's a hearing in Albany, conceivably there may be opportunity for students, parents, and other community stakeholders to appear and also engage legislators. This is work that we will do as a board, but I also would like to see the community overall engaged. I don't want the effort to be limited to us. So this is something that we'll continue to talk about, and we're going to have to spread out beyond these walls to communicate, to inform the community, and really try to engage them. And we'll continue to have conversations with the other districts that have already engaged upon these kinds of actions. But this is something that we should be talking about regularly and often to as many people as possible, because it is critical and it's going to impact the quality of education. We made so much progress thus far, but we still have so much more to do, and that requires funding. And budget is always an issue, and to the extent that we can get the money that the district is already entitled to, that will allow us to continue to do the work that we're doing and even enhance it some more. So thank you, everyone, for your participation. We'll continue this discussion, and in the interim, if you have ideas about how we can go forward into the community to start having these conversations and generating energy and participation, think about that, and we'll continue this at another roundtable. This will be part of our ongoing conversations. So thank you, everyone, for your participation this evening. Mr. McCormick, do we need to enter into executive session this evening?
Yes, but before we do, I mentioned earlier we just wanted to show the video for Regent Johnson.
Oh, yes, yes. Is
which
it available?
It is.
Okay.
It's loading up now.
Okay.
We certainly live in interesting times. Public education is under assault. If ever there was a time to rally around our nation's schools, it is now. So for us, the best way to predict the future is for us to create it. America cannot survive, let alone thrive as a free and just society, until and unless we take the job of educating our young people seriously and in a manner commensurate with our immense wealth. Children aren't born lawyers, corporate executives, engineers, and doctors. Their achievements bear the imprint of their teachers. Is there anyone here in this room whose path was not marked by the inspiration of some teacher? I cannot imagine what my life might have been without my teachers. Their classrooms were my world, and each one of them kept enlarging it. Our future must focus more on what connects us and less on what divides us. We must craft and commit to smart policies that bring together unifying aims, distinctive strengths, and shared resources for the common good. If the United States is to shake this generation loose from educational stagnation, we must focus relentlessly on learning, with active learners who understand that intelligence is not something consigned by their genes, but developed by hard work and with adult leadership and effective instruction. When meaningful, engaging, and relevant education in all classrooms fosters lifelong learning for all Americans, the structural inequities in school and society could very well be swept away so that all citizens might share in the American dream. A strategic focus on investing in teaching and achievement based on discovering the unique talents of every child and unleashing the passion and creativity in learning for the teacher and student alike is a vision that serves us all well. The late philosopher Mortimer Adler said that whatever things are really good for any human beings are really good for all human beings. I believe this is the agitating nucleus of the American experience, the relentless dynamo of desire that drives the American dream. We all want a better life for our children. The sentiment of equal rights and equal opportunity and equal citizenship could never again be caged. I have a message for our children. We have to help them accept the fact that a high school diploma is but a passport to the future, not a guarantee of a fulfilling life. I challenge them to hope and dream anything they want to dream. This is the beauty of the American mind. They need to trust in themselves to test their limits, which is really the courage to succeed. Children, please use hope and imagination as weapons of survival and progress, and keep on dreaming. Remember your roots, your history, and the forebears' shoulders on which you stand. My colleagues, we've chosen to pursue a mission, not a job. We, the educators. So I ask that you reflect on what it means to be a citizen of the world and stewards of our children's future. Please don't ever give up. Be confident that you can make a difference. And do not think that you have to make big waves in order to contribute. We will one day be asked to describe the legacy we've left. Let it include a sense of responsibility for the education of our children. Help us continue the pursuit of a world that honors the attitudes and beliefs that allows each of us to be exactly who we are. That, in fact, celebrates our differences and our distinctiveness, and which asks that we use those characteristics for the greater good. A world that recognizes that we need what each of us possesses within ourselves in order to have the kind of society and the kind of planet we deserve. Encourage our children to succeed despite their personal odds, and remind them of the promises of a better world, one that they must help us to construct. And colleagues, as you conclude the work of each day, please stop and ask yourself, and how are the children? You see, one day in unison across this nation, we must be able to say, and the children are well. I'm an educator, and at that point, my work will truly be done.
That's something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We need an executive session tonight, Madam President, for the purposes of discussing the employment history of a particular person or persons, as well as third-party contract negotiations.
Motion.
Legal advice.
What?
Employee matter and legal advice.
And legal advice and an employee matter.
Okay.
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion carries. How long will we be in executive session, and will we be returning to public
There is
session?
action after this session, about 45 minutes.
Okay. So we will leave for 45 minutes. We expect to be back to take action after executive session.